everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Boerne Brew here on Boerne Radio, 103.9 FM and 1500 AM. And you can also listen on the Boerne Star and Boerne Radio websites. I'm the host of today's show. I'm Kerry Barboza, the sports editor of the Boerne Star. And today we are going to talk with the Boerne ISD coach, Brandon Cheves. It's his first year at Boerne, coaches water polo and swimming. And while he may be a new coach to Boerne ISD, he's not new to Boerne. In fact, Coach Cheeves is a Greyhound graduate. First of all, Coach Cheeves, thank you for coming out on the show. And secondly, what year did you graduate?
Thanks for having me. I graduated in 2008.
Okay, 08. What sports did you play here while you were at Boerne?
I played football. I played baseball. I ran track, a little bit of everything. But, yeah, and then I also did theater. I was in one act.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So
Wow, that's impressive. Who were your coaches here? Who was your football? Who was your basketball? Who was the track coach when you were here?
I was lucky enough to be with Coach Pena.
Steve Pena.
Yes.
I know Steve.
Amazing man. Coach Foster, Coach Ecker, who's actually still over at Champion.
Yeah, still is.
Let's see here. Who else was here?
Who was your football coach?
Football coach was Pena for defensive backs, and then head coach was Threadgill.
Threadgill, that's right.
Threadgill.
Yeah, okay, Danny Threadgill, yeah.
Yes, Threadgill.
So was that the last year that Boerne High was open and was one high school town?
Yeah, so, 2008, they were still finishing up Champion High School, so we were the last graduating class from the original Boerne High School before all the revamps and the remodeling. And then the following year was, the first year Champion opened, and Boerne had completely shut down. So my wife actually graduated from Champion High School, and she's now teaching there. So.
Okay. And what year did she graduate from Champion?
The next year.
Y'all were high school sweethearts.
But we knew each other. We hung out in the same group, but it wasn't until college that we actually were hanging out with friends again, and we rekindled. And
okay, that's cool. And what was your high school experience like at Boerne High? It was different. It was one high school town, but what was your high school? Was it a great high school experience for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Boerne. One of the reasons why I wanted to come back, Boerne High School was so good to me and all the graduating class of that year. We just love it. I know there's several other high school graduates have come back to work here, so it was a great place to grow up, go through school, and just small town feel back then, and it's slowly growing and getting bigger.
That is Brandon Cheves joining us here on the Boerne Brew. I'm the host of today's show. My name is Kerry Barboza. Brandon is the head swim coach and also water polo coach, and we're going to talk about all that because Boerne High started water polo for the first time, so he had to basically build the program from the ground up. But you're talking about 08, you graduate. Boerne was a one high school town then. You've come back now these many years later. What's the biggest changes have you seen in Boerne since you were here as a high school student versus coming back now to work?
Oh, man, the growth of the town.
Yeah, it's exploded, hasn't it?
Oh, yes. Before Champion was there, all those neighborhoods back there, there's Herf Ranch and all that stuff's new over there. What's the one across from Herf Ranch? That all that stuff. It wasn't there. It was just fields. It was grass. It was big compared to what I remember.
Yeah, and I remember about 15 years ago when I was at the Star, we bought a refrigerator from somebody in town. They were selling a house, and we were going to take the refrigerator and put it in our office, and that was going to be our office refrigerator. The guy was selling a house, and it was right down the street from the high school from Boerne High. I had a truck. And they said, hey, can you help us with this refrigerator? So I went and we loaded it. And talking to the owner there, and they were clearing out the house, and he sold us the fridge. I asked him, how much did the house sell for? He said, $117. That was 15 years ago. Man, you couldn't get that house for under $400 now.
No, it's me and my wife just moved in town again, and it's gone way up. It's crazy to see house prices in this area just exploding.
117. I remember that. It stood out to me, and that seemed like a lot back then. But anyway, that's just how it is, and the growth, I think, it's part of it. There's a demand, so people are buying the houses. So you graduate from here. Where'd you go to college, and what led you to become a coach?
Okay. I started off my college career at Texas Tech, changed my major. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I realized I wanted to teach, and then came back to UTSA, finished up my degree at UTSA. I have a Bachelor of Arts in History, and got my first teaching gig at Steele High School, northeast side of San Antonio, just outside the Loop. And
Steele Knights.
It was a Steele Knight for 9 years before coming here. But as soon as I got that teaching job, first thing I did was volunteer anytime they needed someone at any of the sporting events or anything like that, and made sure I got in there. And swim position opened up about 4 years ago now, and I jumped on it. I was like, oh, yeah, anything with water, that's where I want to be. So jumped on that as soon as I could possibly get it. And then started off my first year as an assistant coach. Second year and third year, I jumped up to head coach and just been going ever since.
Yeah, they won a state championship in football one year. I don't know if you were there during that time, but they won a state title one year.
No, that was prior to me getting there. That was just before, yeah.
So what was it in college? Because you said you didn't. Were you an undecided major, undeclared, or you didn't know? What were you going in out of high school when you went to Tech? What were you thinking you wanted to study?
No, I actually got into the School of Architecture. And coming out of high school, you think you know what you're going to do, and then you start taking these other classes, and you realize, hey, maybe my passions lie somewhere else. I figured out that, you know what, I love architecture, I love building things, but it was more of a hobby thing for me. I like to build things with my hands, and that's not what the classes were. Way different than what I thought it was going to be. But I had some great professors for some of my history classes and really turned me on to history. And from there, it's just, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to study history, and then I want to teach history. I want to share my passion.
At what point in college did you realize that I need to change and get out of this and do a different major?
I made it through, first semester of college there at Tech, and then I stayed another semester. I'd switched to undeclared.
Okay.
While I was figuring it out. And then, I came back and I was like, nope, once I figured it out, I came back home, San Antonio, UTSA, and Boerne, and just, ever since then.
So did you want to be a teacher, but did you want to be a coach, or did that kind of come later, the coaching part of it?
Oh, no, that was always the ultimate plan was to coach something. I started off at Steele High School, actually, in soccer. I played club soccer out here and baseball and all that other stuff. Started off in soccer, and then when that swim position opened up, I jumped on it because I knew that's where I wanted to go because I love the water.
I know people that become coaches, there's usually a coach or two or a few that really influence them and they really lead them in that direction of wanting to become a coach. Was there one of those coaches like that for you that kind of really – I really like how he does things or she does things, and I think I'd really like to be a coach? Was there one that really influenced you?
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Pena. He was amazing. He's so energetic and so positive. Even on those days whenever we just got beat down in football, Coach Pena was there, and he gave the best pep talks to the team. Oh, man, he could just awesome. Inspire. The way he was with all of us, he was very positive, but at the same time stern. So you knew, okay, he means business, but he's got your back no matter what. So.
Yeah, I know Steve, and I think he's retired now, but he did some track stuff, and I would see him around. He went to Comfort for a while and then came back and ended up at the middle school. And I think he was athletic coordinator at Voss, I think.
Yeah, so my wife actually worked at Voss with him for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned Steele. Have you coached anywhere else besides there and in Boerne, or just been Steele?
It's just been Steele and now Boerne.
Okay. That is Brandon Cheves, the head swim coach and water polo coach at Boerne Greyhounds. So you want to be a coach, you're at Steele, then you see the opening at Boerne High. Were you always wanting to come back, or was that just an opportunity to move up the ladder, so to speak?
Coming back to my hometown, it's always been like a big thing. I got family here. My wife had already had a job out here, too. In terms of family life, it would definitely make things easier, but I always wanted to come back to Boerne. I always wanted to give back to the community.
And what's it been like? Has it been everything you thought it would be? And it sounds like you bought a house in the area and all that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we ended up getting a house in the area. It was great. We got lucky.
You moved back to Boerne, like you said, and you bought a house, and you said you got lucky on the house?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Find an area. It's pretty equidistant between Champion and Boerne, so it's actually pretty nice. It's centrally located for both me and my wife. And then, the school district's been great. It's a change from what I'm used to. Yeah. Over at Steele High School, they don't run block schedule, so it's every class, every day, and it's very, it's monotonous. You don't get any breaks or anything like that. But the way that Boerne does it in the block scheduling, I absolutely love it. And the admin here is phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about this district. It's just way, way better than what I was used to.
And one of the constants, Boerne, over the years has been Stan Leach, athletic director. I mean, he was here when you were here. I didn't know this, but when you graduated, I was covering the team. I don't think you remembered me. We talked about that, but but Stan has been a guy that's been here. He's going on 40 years, and that just tells you about the district Terry Galt's been here, 25 years?
Oh, yeah, he was our trainer, for football. Oh, yeah.
And you think that you mentioned John Ecker earlier. He's Mr. Boerne, and he graduated from here, and he's back as a coach. And it seems like when a coach comes back, they don't really leave. They stay a long time.
Oh, yeah, this is my retirement plan. Come back to
Is that
Boerne.
right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Stay here as long as possible.
Oh, that's good. So now I ask every coach this, and so far everyone has had an answer to this, but what are your coaching superstitions or routines before a game or a match? It usually involves the way they dress or food. What are yours?
Let's see here. I have a hat that I typically wear.
Really?
I always put it on backwards. I don't know why. I gotta.
Like a baseball cap?
Yeah.
Put it on
it's a little
backwards?
Bernie, but in terms of there's no clothing or anything, I try and go as zen as possible. Just gotta keep focused. I don't want to stress out or do anything weird because I don't want to throw the kids off. So I just want to make sure that I'm as calm, cool, and collected as possible. They're freaking out, and I'm the one that was the rock. I'm not going to move anywhere. They can rely on me.
But it's just a hat.
Oh, that's basically it. Just, got to put my hat on backwards, kind of like a rally cap almost.
That's interesting. And I know in the fall when y'all play water polo, it's really hot and sunny. Don't you wear a bigger hat sometimes?
Oh, yeah. The kids thought it was funny, so they got me a big old, like a
big straw hat. Yeah.
Big old straw hat. So I wore that a couple of times. It was good. Hey, I didn't get sunburned, so that was nice.
It is hot, though.
Oh, yeah.
So you take this job, and so let's back up a little. Champion has had water polo, and Coach Slay was the head coach of the water polo and the swim. So Boerne moves up to 5A, so now he can't coach both because he can't coach one team against the other. That'd be awkward. So they need to hire a swim coach and a water polo coach since they're going to be in the same district. So they hire you. You're charged with starting the water polo program from scratch. What was the biggest challenge from starting something like that where a program had never existed before and then getting it up and running? What was the biggest challenge you faced?
The biggest challenge is always going to be getting the kids to fully understand the sport. Like even still, like water polo, if you've never seen a game, is a pretty complicated game. There's a lot going on in the water. Think like basketball meets wrestling, like soccer, but you're in a pool the whole time.
Yeah.
And treading water and you can't touch the bottom. So it's very complicated. And so the hardest part was getting the kids to be able to understand some of the intricacies of the rules. Like fouling is okay in water polo. If you've never watched a game, there are so many whistles in water polo.
It's constant. It's just constant.
Almost constant whistles.
And they all mean different things.
Yeah, so you get one whistle is like a foul, but you get to keep the ball. 2 whistles means it's a turnover, and they change hands. And then 3 whistles, there's an ejection somewhere. But that means that there's strategic fouls where you just like foul someone to just give your team time to get back. So you can play with that a little bit and getting the kids to be like, no, foul him, please. No. Or shooting the ball. Like trying to throw a ball as hard as you can on land is one thing, but now try and do it while you're in the water and you got to get out of the water and then throw it hard. That was new to him, right? So luckily for me, though, Slay is a phenomenal coach. The end of the year before, he started with them a little bit.
So he mentioned that he had worked with a little bit with them.
Yeah, so he had got them in the water and started getting them at least familiarized with it, which was a huge help whenever I came in. And also just having him as a mentor there at Champion. He's now like head of the aquatics program for Boerne ISD essentially. So he played that role very well where he was able to, if I had a question or hey, what would you do in this situation? He was right there that I could just send him a text or call him up and he'd be willing to help me out if I needed it.
That is Brandon Cheves, head swim coach at Boerne High and also water polo coach. And you mentioned Coach Slay at Champion. You guys played them twice this year. And they're pretty good. They made the state tournament, both boys and girls. Yeah. But how big of a help was Slay to you? Just be that person to talk to and just – it sounds like he was a big help to you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He's a great guy. He's there for you if you need him. He's also, though, he's the kind of guy that's, okay, I'm going to let you figure it out, but if you need something, I'm here. And so he gave me space to figure things out and do things my way and figure out my style of coaching and how I was going to do it. And then if I had questions, I'd go to him and he'd help me out. But for the most part, he's just there. He's there if I need him. He's great.
Oh, and I know when you played Champion the first time, for some reason it was at Alamo Heights. I don't know why. This year, y'all played at Alamo Heights. And I think that was the first time Boerne and Champion had played as both 5As, I think, in any sport. I think y'all beat tennis because tennis was right around that time, but I think y'all were a little bit before tennis. And I talked to him about it, and they were obviously heavily favored going in. And he told me, he says, I'm cheering inside for Boerne. I want them to do well. I want them to have a good game and to, because this is all about Boerne. These are Boerne kids. They grew up here. They know each other. And he seemed like he was really on your side, even though he wanted to win the match.
Yeah.
But that just the thing that he was just that way. He was just that kind of a guy, basically, in other words. As far as water polo, UIL, this was the third year. All the other teams that started, they started basically 3 years ago. This was your first year, so you're playing against teams that had basically a 2-year head start, right?
Oh, yeah.
Basically. So what was that like trying to play catch-up to those guys? I thought y'all made great strides during the year, but just playing programs that had been around a few years and they knew the routine and they knew how everything worked. Was there a learning adjustment period during all that?
Oh, absolutely. Our first 4 or 5 games was just, okay, let's play and let's figure out what this is actually all about, because they're not used to it. They don't understand the intensity. They don't understand all that stuff until you're in the situation. And so once they got in the situation, it started to click. All the little things started to just make sense. Oh, coach is telling me this. Oh, that's why. Okay. Yeah. So it took a few games before they were like, oh, okay, so I need to start ramping it up a little bit. And yes, it's a contact sport. It's physical. You got to get in there. You got to go. And they're like, oh, okay. A lot of them are swim backgrounds, so they're not used to contact sport. They're not used to physicality on that level in terms of against an opponent. They're used to challenging themselves. And so you had to go at it from that angle. Okay, your challenge for yourself for this game is to try and accomplish this. You have to try and maybe get into position early or beat your guy to position. That way you can be open for a pass or something like that. And we'd set up simple tasks for each game. We weren't going to win for most of the part. 2 years behind. Right. So our goal for each game was to try and do specific tasks. Hey, let's try and do this, right? Let's try and get the ball to this person to score over in the flat or over in the wing. Let's try and get an open wing shot or something like that. I'd preach that to the kids going in. Look, they're ahead of us. If you win, amazing. Wow. Holy smokes. That's fantastic. Not a huge probability, not high.
Right.
But as long as we are learning and growing and getting better each game, that's what I'm looking for here, because we need to build this up and we got to start somewhere. And lucky for us, it's only up from here.
Yeah.
So.
And y'all swept somebody in the district.
Yeah, so we never let Marshall beat us for the boys. Yeah,
we beat Marshall on the boys' side, and really you weren't that far away from a playoff spot. Really, you were a spot or two removed.
Yeah, 1 spot away, I think.
Yeah. Hey, great first year. But so, what was the hardest thing? Was it teaching the rules? Was it learning to swim with your head above water versus underwater? What was the one thing that you felt you just had to go over and over again with the kids? The biggest thing you needed to make a point of this is what is the most important thing?
I think the physicality, like with the other teams, like being physical with them is probably the hardest thing.
Yeah.
The swimming, they're good at it. They're swimmers. They can swim. It was get right up on that person and don't let them move. Like, you have to hold them where they are, keep them where they are, don't let them get around you, and positioning and like that kind of stuff. So more of game tactics more so was a little bit more challenging because they're used to individualized races versus a team sport situation.
As far as that part, you transition into swimming. You just go from water polo, season's over, you go right into swimming basically. There's really no break. Would you like a little break in there, or were you okay with how it went?
No, let's keep that. And
just keep going, right?
Yeah, they're already swimming. They got their endurance up. Now let's push it into the swim season. I think that's good, yeah.
You mentioned how physical water polo is, and one thing, when Coach Slay, he's been on the show before and we talked about it, the most interesting thing, because I've covered water polo now for 3 years, and I'm still learning all the whistle things, because there's literally whistles every few seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now what does that one mean? So you have to think about it. But the most interesting thing I thought was before a match, the official calls all the players over and he looks at their nails.
Yeah.
To make sure they don't have nails, because they can't scratch under the water. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on under the water they don't necessarily see and call, but it gets pretty rough under the water, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And the refs do the best job they can. I can't see underwater, so they try to call what they can, but for the most part, it has to be above the water for them to really call something.
And so you go into swimming and basically start in December, and then you had a couple meets, and then you had your district meet. You guys did really well at district. We just had the regional meet last weekend, and I know Cooper Wagner, he made it for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The 50 free, he made it in the 50 free and the 100 free freestyle.
Yeah, the top 2 at regionals gets an automatic invite to state, and then there's a chance for a wild card. Anybody else make call-ups or wild cards?
Yeah, actually, Lauren Summers, a sophomore, made call-ups for the 100 brushstrokes. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about Cooper. He looks like a football guy. I don't know how big he is, but he looks like a linebacker. He's cut, he's ripped, but he can swim, can he?
Oh, yes. He's 6'3".
Yeah.
And he's built. He's got that swimmer body, too. He's got those broad shoulders and just powerful strokes.
Yeah, I remember that one race they were at. He was lined up next to Bexon, and they looked like, I don't know what the word, Goliaths or something. These guys are cut, 6-packs. I have a 6-pack, but it's a different kind. It's the kind you buy at the store. It's not the kind you have on your body. But when we're talking about it, this is Boerne's first year to 5A, and so there was some learning curves there, I think, for different sports. And we were talking about basketball just a second ago. They played a state tournament 3 of the last 4 years, whatever it was, and this year they got knocked out in the first round. Heartbreaking shot, but so you move up to 5A. There's some adjustments there, but you were saying you feel like you guys are moving in the right direction, that this is going to be a good time for you guys as a 5A swim program going forward.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's no need to look back. 4A was 4A. We're now in 5A. Now we're going to make the best of where we are. And I think the way we're sitting, Boerne in general is going to be a swimming and water polo mecca. So it's just a matter of time for us to fully establish our dominance in this sport in this area.
You believe that both schools can just be a powerhouse in swimming?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think if it ain't Boerne, it better be champion. So
yeah,
it's going to be one of us. And that's the way I like to look at it.
That is Brandon Cheves, head swim coach and head water polo coach. Do y'all have any divers? I know Champion only had 2, but do y'all have divers yet?
No, we don't have any divers yet. If anyone listening to this is a diver, Boerne High School is looking for divers.
And that's points, right?
That's big points, too.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking district point values for the team, that's a lot.
Yeah, that definitely helps. What other sports have you coached besides swimming? Is that it?
So I volunteer coached baseball when I was at Steele High School.
Okay.
My very first year. The first thing I did was, hey, I used to play baseball. You want to volunteer coach? And then was watching the soccer program one time and went over and asked Coach Linthicum, who's now the principal over at Steele High School. But back then he was the soccer coach. He was the girls' soccer coach. I said, hey, I'd like to help out with soccer. He said, you know what? Sure. So he allowed me to be an assistant coach there, and I did that for free for 2 years, and then started actually getting a stipend. I think it was my 3rd year helping him out, and he switched over to the boys program. So I did that for 2 years, and then he left to go to Churchill or something else. And when he left, I stopped doing that, and I switched over to UIL Academics, and I was the academic coach for a while.
So is there a sport you would like to coach that you haven't coached yet?
I love sports.
Football? Would you like to coach football?
I love my sports that I'm in right now. If something were to happen and they're like, oh, no more swim program at Boerne, sorry, we don't have a spot, then maybe, yeah, but no, I love my sports I'm in now, but I do love any type of athletic, let's go get the team together and go, it doesn't matter. I love it all.
All right. We want to thank you for being a guest on the show here. The last question for you, what's the most rewarding thing for you about being a coach?
Just seeing the progress. It doesn't have to be the fastest swimmer. It could be my slowest swimmer. I had kids this year that probably some of the slowest on the team, but to see them from the beginning of the year to now and the progress they've made is the most rewarding thing possible. Even your fast swimmers, just any progress that is made during that year means that we're on the right path.
We'll see you at the state meet coming up next weekend, I believe. And so we want to thank you for joining us here on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
That's Brandon Cheves joining us here on the Boerne Brew, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.